And we are back, everyone. We're getting our next presenter set up right now. Welcome, Victoria. Can you share your slides for us?
I can hear you.
Perfect. I can hear you. I can see you.
Então, tô ouvindo. I can hear you.
Good. All right, you are ready to start whenever you would like. So if you want to share your slides.
International. I don't know why, but I can hear. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm not hearing you.
You might want to check your audio output down on the bottom just to make sure that it's selected the right speaker.
Okay, I cannot hear you, but if you say to make the presentation, I will wait.
Oh, she said she's ready to start if you just try to go.
Okay. Okay, so I will begin. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Vitória Veiga, and I am a PhD student from Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, and I'm presenting a research supervised by Professor Raquel da Silveira. Today, I will talk about gender violence in esports, specifically in the study hate speech in Valorant in the Brazilian context. The paper is Local Platforms, Global Problems, Investigating Gender Inequalities in Valorant through the Private Discord Community in Brazil. Today, this research examines how global problems of gender inequality manifest in local Brazilian platforms. We studied a private Discord community to understand how women experience and fight against harassment in competitive gaming. So let's begin. What is Valorant in the Brazilian context? Valorant is a first-person shooter game, or FPS, Riot game launched in June 2020. In this game, we have two teams with 5 players playing against each other. Players need to good strategy and shooting skills. Why did we choose Valorant for our research? We have 3 main reasons. The first one is, according to Brazilian Minister of Sports, Valorant is the 3rd most popular esports game in Brazil. This data comes from this year's in a public consultation by the Ministerium. The second one is the Riot Games says Valorant is a leader in a women competitions. They create a special tournament for women in Latin America too. The third is, but even with these efforts, women still face a lot of harassment and hate speech in this game. This contradictions is interesting. The company tries to include women, but problems continues. We want to study why. So what goes beyond the trash talk? Now I need to explain something important. In the game, players sometimes use trash talk like normal competitivity language. But what we found is not trash talk, is much more serious. We found 3 types of harmful behaviors. The first one is the cyberbullying. This means to intimidate or humiliate someone many times. This includes insults, threats, and sharing personal information to hurt victims. The number 2 is the cyber hate. This is a hate speech on digital platforms. It includes offensive messages about race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation. The goal is to create hostility or violence against specific groups. The third is the cyber trolling. This means to provoke or disturb another people online, usually without showing your identity. The goal is get emotional react. The important point here is when what we found is in our study is not a simple trash talk, it's a systematic harassment based on who people are, especially if they are women. Let me explain the specific ways that harassment attacks women in Valorant Brazil context. These are real methods from our research. The first is the harassment, offensive message, insults, and in tweets that come through voice chat and text chat or direct messages. Hate raiders, this is a very serious one because many users coordinate together to attack one person in a live stream. They want to destroy the stream and humiliate the person publicly. This is a planned attack. Doxing, this means to share someone's personal information without permission. It can be their real name, address, phone number. This goes with the threatening the scare players, to threaten or scare players. Interpersonation, this is attack, create fake profiles. They use the victim name and photos. Then they publish offensive content to run the person's reputation. Intentional exclusion, the players are removed from the groups, teams, and communities. Usually these come with the public negative comments. These stop to players from participate in competitive game. These are not random incidents. They are systematic strategies to push women out of competitive game. The methodology. Now I will explain our research methods. This is very important because our data source is unique. This research focuses specifically on the Brazilian game community. We want to understand how hate speech and cyberbullying manifest in Brazilian Valorant community. A Riot Game, the company that creates Valorant, want to understand the cyberbullying in the Brazilian context. So they made a partnership with this close Discord group to research, to identify patterns and understand the specific words and behavior connected to harassment in Brazil. We studied a closed Discord group created exclusively for women who play Valorant in Brazil. This is important because that is a not public group. It had a special characteristic. Only women could enter in this group. There was verification process, moderation investigate each person before allowing them to join. And this created a safe space where women could report harassment without fear. Because of this verification process, women felt safe to share their experience and document. The time period, we analyzed data from June 2020, when Valorant launched, to January 2025. This is almost 5 years of documentation. We analyzed 287 complaints of harassment and hate speech reported by Brazilian women players. And we used two important scales, Barrador scales from 2023 for hate speech intensity. The context that they use is in Germany, and Porintandian adaptation for 2024 for gaming context, and that was in Thailand. Our methods was Excel for quantitative analysis to count patterns and identify which word appear most frequently, and Vivo for qualitative analysis to understand the context and the content and the context of complaints. We have a two steps methodology process. This is very important. The step one, the subcategories are created organically by the players. When women report harassment in the Discord chat, they identified and named the type of the harassment they've experienced. This is very important for our research. The players created their own classification system. They recognize patterns in the harassment and name it them. In sexism, homophobia, transphobia, sexual harassment, hate speech, racist, ableism, disruptive players, and cheating. A standard of words and action based off the Brazilian social and cultural context. The subcategories reflect how Brazilian women actually perceive and name it harassment. The step 2 was the academic categorization. After understanding these organic patterns and created by the players, we group these subcategories into Barrador intensive scale categories, and we use the adaptation created by Purwin for the gaming context. This means the player identified the type of the harassment, the subcategories, and then we organize this into academic categories in death, violence, dehumanization, negative characterization, negative acts, and disagreement to analyze the intensity and the severity. So first, we respect the player's voice and their understanding of the harassment, and then we use academic frameworks to analyze patterns and intensity. This combines community knowledge with academic rigor. So the results. Here we see that our finds by the subcategory, remember these categories are identified by the players themselves. So looking for the charts, we see that sexism and hate speech is more than half of the reports. We saw that the sexism is the biggest category of the all, and more than 1/3 of all harassment was identified by the woman was gender-based discrimination. So the most important find here is that, and this when we see the last reports that we saw was xenophobia, cheating, and ableismo is less than 4% of all reports. So gender-based harassment in the primary problem. When we now we look at the big categories, violence is the biggest category with 39%, almost 39%. And we can see here sexism, homophobia, transphobia, hate speech, and sexual harassment. So we have negative characterization also with one of the bigs, and death. We've added these three most serious categories: violence, negative characterization, and death. We get almost 78. We have 78% of all the reports. When we see what is the trash talk, the type of trash talk, the simple conflict is less than 2% in the category of disagreement. Another part of our research was the words cloud. This words cloud showed the most common words in complaints. This is a very important for understand the cyberbullying Brazilian context. This is a Brazilian Portuguese, so the terms that humans use to report harassment, but I had the translation too. So when did we see homophobia and transphobia? With the biggest words is denounce, report, girls, speak, and insults. Notice how many actions words have: denounce, report, speak. They show that the Brazilian community is fighting back and documentation harassment. Sexism. The biggest words are insult, stalking, report, denounce, matching, sexism. That words matching partida is important. It shows that it happened during actual gameplay, not just the social space. When we see sexual harassment, we have similar words, plus group harassment happening in teams, persons when describe the harassments, and stated was suggesting the persistent behavior. Hate speech, the toxicity, in the hate speech, we have the most aggressive language. That is a toxic, horror, sorry for the word, but is there, kill and fat. In all categories, report words appear frequently, report and denounce. This showed that Brazilian women players have created a strong culture of documentation and collective response. They are not silenced, they actually report and support each other. The specific Brazilian Portuguese terms we identify helping, the specific Brazilian Portuguese terms identify by variety with this group, create a better moderation system that understands the language actually used in harassment. So the final considerations, let me summarize some findings. The first one is the violence is the dominating category with 39% of all complaints. This is not about competition. This is about systematic exclusion and arrest awareness in the Brazilian game scene. The second is sexism appears in the 38.68% of the cases. The players themselves identify these as the biggest problems. Being a woman in the Brazilian Valorant community means facing content gender-based harassment. We identify specific Brazilian Portuguese terms connecting to cyberbullying. Right to understand the harassment pattern in Brazil and create a better moderation for the Brazilian players with this community. Our methodological process respects players' voice. The subcategories came organically from the Brazilian players themselves, considering their social and cultural context. Then we use Barrador academic framework to analyze the intensity. This combines community knowledge with academic analysis. We found a systematic pattern of exclusion. This goes beyond the traditional trash talk. This is a coordinate, identify-based harassment to force Brazilian women out of the game. So, but we also found a space of resistance. The Discord group that we study is in territory for collective confrontation in Brazilian context. Brazilian women players are not passive. They are organizing, documenting, and fighting back. The verification process created by moderator was essential because women knew the space was safe, they felt comfortable reporting and sharing experience. There is a strong culture of reporting in the Brazilian community. Players encourage each other to report incidents and use terms like denounce and report. This collective action helps players to stay in the competitive scene. The community developed self-regulation strategy, block no harassment, sharing information about toxic players, and create a protection network. This verify woman only space became a model for resistance and collective. To conclude, this research showed that the gender-based violence in the systematic problems in the Brazilian Valorant community is a barrier to women participation, but is also showed that Brazilian women are creating space of resistance. The verified Discord group model works. It creates a safe and enable documentation. The partnership with the Riot and this Discord group provides them with concrete data to improve moderation and supporting in Brazilian context. So thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer the question, and this is my reference, and you can see all in my paper. Opa. Okay. Okay, I will read the questions out loud. What do you imagine will be the longest term result of what sounds like fostering safe space for resisting in the future? In this context, from Brazil, I think we need to search more different type of moderation, and also have more space that is just for women. I think in context that we have a lot of sexisms here in our culture, we need to have this safe space in long term. So in the game, like for example, I think is choose with who you go, or choose make a rank only with women. So that is something that maybe help to have more resistant and more safe space to have more resistant in the future. I don't know if I have another word. So you found gender-based harassment to be the most prominent, but you are also studying a woman-oriented group. Okay. How it fought, if at all, do you think results would different if you study a different scarred community? This is one group that I not study only one group. I study in this paper right now is only one group, but I have been studying more than 5. And so with LGBT community inside, only women groups and mixed groups. And what I have saw is I don't think this just are so different, the results, and because the sexism orientation, I think the men suffer less, they suffer toxicity, but being a woman, being in a place that we have saw different aspects of being a woman in a Latin American is totally different, and be LGBT community too. So I think the toxicity is in the all all sphere, but I don't think that is most different in the LGBT community and also with the woman. So I think it's not so different what is happening. I think the way what they made, like with doxing, they don't use doxing or hate raiders with men, but another type of cyber trolling or something like that. I think that's most different. I also wonder if your competitive gaming in Brazil context have perhaps draw the audience than elsewhere. Like, we have saw in the Ministerium of Sport, with the data from Ministerium of Sport, we see that no, we have mobile games being more saw and be more played, but they not draw the audience themselves. With the Furia right now, win a lot of games in CSGO, the CS, and we have the first-person shooter and the third-person shooter in Brazil is a very big deal. Really like this is a tradition in our ecosystem of the esports. So Marvin and Rival, I think they will not draw this competitive game and context. I think this tradition here is FPS. We like this, we love this, and LOL too. We are very fan. And with the Ministerium say, the first one is LOL, the data from Ministerium of the Sport. The first one is LOL, League of Legends. The second one is CS, Counter-Strike, and the third one is Valorant. So 2 of them is FPS, and one is League of Legends. So I don't think they will draw this audience themselves.
Excellent. That is all the questions I see. Thank you so much for your presentation, Vitória. I'm sorry that you couldn't hear us, but I said thank you in the chat so that you know. We are now going to transition.